Okay, hi everybody. This is a screencastify, or an Edpuzzle at this point, about key signatures. So key signatures are one of the fundamental things that we need to understand and need to be able to identify to be able to cite sing. Hopefully by the end of this video you see why that is the case. So first we got to talk about what a key signature is. So a key signature is a collection of every accidental found in a scale. So for instance, we talk about scales. Let's talk about D major, right? We talked about how from the first to the second note and the second to the third note are whole steps. From the third to the fourth note is a half step. Fourth to fifth is whole step, whole step, whole step, and then half step. We talked about how it's mi and fa and ti and do, right? It's between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Key signatures are basically, instead of writing each individual F sharp and C sharp whenever they occur, we move them back to the beginning, and they become a collection of things that then we can use. So it's just an easier way to write something ahead of time, similar to, we have a time signature that tells us our information as far as rhythm, and a tempo marking that tells us our information as the speed, and those aren't written out each single measure or whenever they occur. They're told at the beginning, so we don't have to change them, and they remain constant unless they are changed. So to explain this, we're going to talk about how we assess what a key signature is. So within key signatures, we group them into two groups. We group them into the sharp key signatures and the flat key signatures, and that's just depending on what the scale is. So for instance, we're starting to talk about flats. So for instance, this is just kind of showing you really quickly. So this is a particular key that has 3 flats. So instead of writing a flat next to every E, A, and B, they simply move those over to the key signature, and we know what notes to play, right? Because they line up. So that means with this, that means every time we see an E, it's going to be an E flat. Every time we see a B, it's going to be a B flat. Every time we see an A, it's going to be an A flat. So it basically says, hey, until we tell you otherwise, or until you see otherwise, these are the notes you have to work with. So the flats themselves, there are 5 flats and 5 sharps. They mirror each other. So for instance, the flats are B, E, B, E, A, D, G. Oh, sorry, there's 7 flats. I almost said 5, my bad. B, E, A, D, G, C, and F. So bead, B-E-A-D, is the greatest common factor. That's the mnemonic device that I use. You can come up with whatever one you want. Right? This one says, battle ends and down goes Charles's father. Battle ends and down goes Charles's father. Or bead is the greatest common factor. But that's the order of our flats. So B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And when we're looking at a key signature, what we do is we're trying to find out what key a piece is in. We take the second to last flat. So for instance, in this particular case, we have a B flat, an E flat, an A flat, a D flat, and a G flat. So I'd go to that second to last flat, D flat, and that would be the key that I would be in. I'd be in D flat major, right? So that means if I saw a D flat would be do. Right, so that's why we figure out a key specifically, is it then tells us, okay, what notes equal what solfege syllables. And that's then how we can gauge, okay, well, here's the notes I need to sing, here's the syllables I'll use, and then we get to work, right? So, for instance, let's go really quickly here to musictheory.net, and we'll try a couple, and I'll explain sort of the process. So, let's go to key signature identification. Let us add all of the flat keys. We'll take out the sharps for the moment. I think that got all of them. Yeah, that got all of them. Sweet. Okay. So, getting rid of that. We have 3 flats here. B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. And this is where a note identification becomes super important. So I go to that second to last flat, which is A flat, and I'm in A flat major. Right? Same thing here, B, E, and A. I go to E, so this is E flat major. One flat, this is kind of the one that's harder to remember. It's just F, and the reason is that's just the rule set we use, right? F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, and A to B flat is a half step. So that's F major. That's just one we kind of have to remember. All of the other ones are preset. And there's actually a nice little chart that I will bring up so you'll be able to see, and this will also be in our Schoology page, but it's the circle of fifths. It tells us specifically what keys there are. So let me pull up a better one here that has all of the information we need. So I'll pause this quick. Okay, so this is super helpful because this just kind of tells us a little bit of numbers things. So this is the circle of fifths. The reason we call it the circle of fifths is that the distance between each one of these notes, letter-wise, is a fifth, right? C, in between C is D, E, and F. So C, D, E, F, G, that's a fifth. G to D, G, A, B, C, D, right? So you see the idea. These are all a fifth apart. And they tell us within that key how many sharps or flats we have. You can see some overlap here. That's just where we have different ways to call something, right? But for C and F, it's one flat, and it's 0 flats for C major. 0 flats, 0 sharps. But with all of our flats, we can see 1 flat, 2 flats, 3 flats, 4 flats, 5 flats, 6 flats, and 7 flats. So, go back to our key signature identification. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can either look and see 7 flats is C flat major, or because that's harder to memorize those, right? Eventually you will, but to start out, that's kind of hard. We can look and go backwards. B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So C is our second to last flat, so C flat would be the answer, right? So that's that's flats. That's how flats work. Sharps are just a little bit different. The sharps specifically, excuse me, go backwards of what the flats are. So the flats were B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So these are F, C, G, A, E, B. F, C, G, F, C, G, D, my fault, A, E, B. I missed one. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So the thing they use is Father Charles goes down and ends battle. Right? So that's just the one they use. I just kind of am used to remembering that it's the opposite of the flats. But it's kind of, whatever your prerogative, it's the easiest thing for you. So with sharps, we have kind of an easy way to do it. We just have to think of a half step. So let me pull up, because it'll be really, really helpful for us, our Schoology. Let's go back to the bottom here and just keep up this piano keyboard layout because it'll help us out a little bit here. So with sharps, we take the last sharp. We take the last sharp and we move up a half a step, and that tells us our key. So when we are looking at a sharped key, we take the second to last sharp. So for instance, let's see here, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp. So if I go back to my piano here, I'm at A sharp, I go up one half step, and I'm at B. So this key would be B major. Right here we have F sharp and C sharp. I go off a half step from there, and I get to D. Right, so we can kind of see where some of this comes into play. Right, so we get the half step. That would be D major. You also could use our circle of fifths. You could see that as 1 sharp is G major, and then you're good to go. So it's kind of the way you want to do it. My advice would be to learn it the way that I'm doing, which is you go up half a step. It takes a little bit longer in the beginning, but you end up with the knowledge that can get you through every time. So why does this matter? Well, if I am looking at, let's choose an example here. Let's go back to concert choir, and let's go to our music. So let's choose The Water is Wide for the moment. We'll do both pieces, but The Water is Wide for the moment. And when this pulls up, so we have 3 flats in this piece. So knowing that, our second to last flat, let me zoom in here a little bit because I know it's hard for you to see. Our second to last flat is E flat. So I know that this is E flat major. So I know that anytime I see E flat, it will be do. Anytime I see F, it'll be re. G, it'll be mi. A flat, it'll be fa. B flat will be so. C will be la. And then D flat will be not D flat. D will be T, right? And then E flat is do. So if I was looking at a piece like The Water is Wide, I could make a determination as to what the notes are, right? So I could look at our opening here and write in the solfege, and then I can sight read the piece. That's one of the tools for it. So just double checking, we'll do Loch Lomond as well. Pull that up quick here. So Loch Lomond, we have 1 flat, which we talked about. If we go back to our circle of fifths, 1 flat is F major. So that tells me that F is do, and then I can just sort of do the work from there. So while this is kind of a weird concept to figure out, it's one of those things where this is probably one of the more crucial things, right? Knowing how an interval and the distance between notes is super important. But if you don't know the key you're in, you won't really know where to start with solfege. So hopefully that makes sense. It gives you sort of a clear idea of solfege of key signatures and how we do them. So just a quick review. With sharps, we take the last sharp and we go up half a step. With flats, we take the second to last flat, and we use that as our key signature. So sharps, last sharp, go up a half step. Flats, second to last flat, and use that as our key signature. So I appreciate you listening to this Screencastify. Hopefully you've garnered some of that information, and I hope you have a great day.